Hello, good evening and welcome to our Year 9 Options evening. Thank you so much for being here. We're really sad not to be able to do this in person, and I'm sure that some of you will have joined us in person previously with older children to see the wonderful marketplace that we offer. But tonight we're going to give you a virtual experience of the Options evening. We'll be hearing from Mr. Bhatia, who will give an introduction to both what's happening in the school at the moment, but also the process of selecting options. And then Miss Morris will speak a little bit in more detail about exactly what you and your children are going to be doing as they make these hugely important decisions. Thank you to those people who've already put some questions into the Q&A. We will be answering those later on after we've heard the presentations from Mr. Bhatia and Miss Morris. Okay, I'm going to hand over now to Mr. Bhatia, who's going to start off by introducing the evening. Thank you, Mr. Bhatia.
Thank you very much, Ms. Williamson, and welcome to everybody. I echo what Ms. Williamson said. I love these evenings. I love having our community in school and being able to talk to you as a collective and meet you all individually. Unfortunately, the circumstances take that option away from us for now. But it seems like it's going to end soon. You will have heard the PM's announcement that we will be back in school from the 8th, and I'll give you some what I can tell you about that process. I will tell you in this presentation, because I'm sure that's high up on people's minds. But before we go into that, I just want to say that I do hope that you are well. I hope your families are well, and I hope you are as fit and healthy as can be. I fully acknowledge that this pandemic has been an absolutely well, it's been an awful time for all of us, and this has affected us for a year now. We've been in and out of school for a year, and while it's wonderful to have your children at home and spending more time with them as a parent, that's not really the way things are meant to be. Really, your children should be in school, and for us as teachers, look, it's great teaching online, and I think we've been really effective in teaching online, but Lord knows we miss our children. We want to have them in the classroom in front of us. There is no substitute for in-person teaching, and this is our calling. We miss our kids, and we're looking forward to having them back in school. If I may, I'm just going to try and share my screen with you so I can talk you through some of the things that I wish to discuss with you today. Bear with me. Okay, so very welcome to the presentation. I'll speak to you for a little bit, and then Ms. Morris will then talk through the curriculum and the options process. I want to start with our school vision, because Year 9 will have heard me say this a million times and read through this a million times with them, but it really is what we are about. Lots of schools will take your children through exams, they'll teach them in lessons, and they'll say go off to university. But actually, we're about something deeper than that. We start with our verse from the Bible, from John 10:10. We say, which says that I have come that you may have life and have it in all its fullness. And we interpret that as meaning that at Ark Burlington Danes Academy, we believe that everyone deserves to be accepted, included, and empowered to live a life that is purposeful and fulfilling. It is through learning to our fullest potential and living a life filled with kindness and thankfulness that we can be the ones to make the world a better place. And I really want to look at that last part of it there. Make the world a better place. In a moment, we're going to talk about your GCSE options. We're going to talk about the different pathways they can take you on, whether that is a vocational pathway where you may go and study business studies in our sixth form, go on to university, have a great career on that side of things, or it may be that you're taking a different route, you're shooting for Oxbridge, it may be that you're taking a creative route and you're going to go down the performing arts way. Whatever your pathway is, we want you to be able to succeed to your fullest ability. And look, I'm going to be really frank with you. I want our children to go out there and have access to the best universities, the best jobs, the best careers, and the best salaries. I want us to be able to earn good money. I think that's an important part of life for a lot of us, but that's not the be all and end all. We want our children to be empowered through education, to get into positions where they can take care of themselves, they can take care of their families, they can take care of the community, and in doing so, make the world a better place. Give back to the community and the world around you. I don't think contentment or satisfaction in life comes from just looking out for ourselves, just trying to line our own pockets. I think it comes from actually caring about our community and caring about the world around us and trying to make a change to make it better. And I think that the events of the last year and a half have shown us that the world is an amazing place, but it's certainly not perfect yet. And I see it as the responsibility of all of us as a school community, for all of our children, to be the ones to take up that mantle, to go forward into the world, to be empowered through education and make a real difference to the world around us. Now, let me talk a little bit about reopening. You will have heard that we are reopening from the 8th of March. As it stands, the announcement was made on Monday. We received some guidance from the DfE on Tuesday. There's been some more guidance today, and there'll be some more guidance across the course of this week. So in the next couple of days, we'll be finalising the plan for reopening, and we'll be writing a letter to all parents so that you know exactly what to do and exactly when your child is expected in school. Look, this is not an entirely new scenario for us. This is exactly the same situation we were in September when we had to reopen our school, still in the midst of a pandemic. And you will remember that we have changed a lot about our school day, and we've reorganised our school to minimise the risk of transmission of the virus. I have to be realistic with you. It's impossible to be perfectly safe. That's just not something that's within our control. But we can put a lot of mitigations in, a lot of protocols in place to make sure that our school community is safe as possible. We did that in September, and your children can tell you about that, how that was from September through to December. And it's going to be a very similar situation when they come back, except with a few minor tweaks, and it might even be a little bit stricter with it. But we know that that was reasonably effective in keeping our school community safe. Look, I think that we've had someone above us looking down on us and taking care of us, because we really hadn't in the autumn term had our education disrupted too much, and I think that's because we've been fortunate, but I also think it's because our mitigations and our protocols that we put in place to keep people safe largely worked as well as they could do, and as much as these things are within our power. From the 8th of March, we will have a staggered return to school. So it won't be the whole school returning back on the 8th of March. It'll be certain year groups at certain times, and we will write to parents to let you know when your child will be expected back in school. You are aware that we are already arranged in year group bubbles and class bubbles. So each year group is in effect a small school and is within that year group bubble. And our children remain in their classes, and they do not mix with other classes. They stay in their same base classroom, and we don't move around the school like we used to back in the old days. We have staggered start and end times, and we have different entrances for different year groups, so that really does protect people and keep them apart and keeps people in their year group bubbles. We know that our new school day actually works on many levels, and we've had a really calm school during the autumn term, and it's worked in keeping us safe and keeping us learning. Some of the new elements that are going to come in following the government's guidance is that they've asked that students are tested 3 times in school, and then after that they're going to be tested at home. So we are actually going to be providing you as parents and as families rapid COVID tests that you'll be able to take home and test your child at home. Now, they haven't arrived in school yet. We're expecting their delivery any day now, but the first 3 tests will happen in school. And on the first day back, commencing in the week of 8th of March, your child will come in, they'll have a COVID test. We need you to make sure you give them consent for that to happen. We'll give them a COVID test in school, and in doing so, we'll show them how you self-administer the COVID test. So this won't be a member of staff or a nurse trying to administer the test to your child. Your child will do that test to themselves. They'll administer the COVID test to themselves. I've been using those tests every day that I'm in school, and they're absolutely fine, and they're really easy to use, and they give you a very rapid test result. They tell you in a couple of seconds, really, a couple of minutes, that you're all clear. And God willing, I've been okay so far. So your child will be in school on the first day back. They'll have their first COVID test, and then they'll go into lessons, and then they'll remain in school for their lessons all the way through from their first day back. And we'll let you know which day in that week of 8th of March the year 9 will be returning. We will then take them out of lessons over the next couple of days. There'll be 3-day intervals between tests. We'll pull them out of lessons and we'll do another round of testing and then a third round of testing. And then after that, your child's going to be really, really familiar with how to administer a COVID test for themselves, and they'll be taking those tests home, and you can do them at home. And that's the way it will be going forward. But of course, there's a lot more detail that needs to follow with that, and we'll be writing to you on this. The other big development is that face masks must now be worn in corridors and classrooms. Now, that's straight from the government guidance. We had previously mandated face masks for corridors, but not in classrooms. It is now mandated in classrooms. So we'll be asking parents to make sure your child has at least 2 face masks on them, one on their face and one as a spare, just in the same way that you would come to school with at least 2 pens, one that works right now and one to use if the other one runs out. Okay, so I'm afraid that's part of our life for at least a few more months yet. And that's what we can share with you right now. And following that week, we expect to be back into normal lessons as it was before we went into lockdown, and we'll be doing that through to the autumn term. Just so that you're aware, the school community has been very, very active during lockdown. So in a moment, we're going to talk about our curriculum, and that's very, very important to us. The Bda curriculum is quite a unique curriculum. It's a very academic and empowering curriculum. Because it is so important to our children's future prospects and our school vision, empowering them to make the world a better place, we took the call to put our entire curriculum online. So your child has been receiving their full range of lessons that they would have had in school just online through Microsoft Teams during the period of lockdown. That will continue for the next 2 weeks. So thank you so much to my students who are online here and to our families who've encouraged that online learning at home. It is hugely important. It makes a massive, massive difference. We couldn't have afforded for you to fall behind during this period. We've had a really positive take up of our online learning, and it is amongst the highest in Hammersmith and Fulham, and I'm really proud of that. Some of our families we know have struggled to gain access online, either through a lack of devices or through internet. We've been giving out dongles to families who have a lack of internet access, and in fact we've delivered 600 laptops to our families who did not have a device for their children. And if you are struggling with accessing online learning, please do contact the school through either the admin email or through your form tutor, who, as you know, has been calling home on a weekly basis to make sure you're okay. We know that we've been sending out free school meal vouchers to our families, but we know that they barely cover what's needed for a family to survive. And some of our families have really struggled throughout this period of lockdown. There has been, income has been hard to come by, and it's just been very, very tough at home. We have, as a school community, raised over £17,000 for our food bank fund, and we've been delivering food parcels to our most needy families over this period. So thank you very much to people who donated to that. Yeah, just please do, again, if you have any issues, if you're struggling with anything at home, please be in touch via your form tutor, via the admin account, and we will do everything we can to support you through this very challenging time. And of course, we've had our community classroom running for our key worker and vulnerable children every day during lockdown, and that's been really, really well attended. We've had well over 100 students on site across the primary and the secondary during this period, and we've kept them learning. So I'm very proud of that. So that's what we've been doing during lockdown. In a moment, you're going to be making your choices, or you're going to hear about how you're going to be making your choices. But to do so, it's really important you understand why we offer you the subjects that we do. Different schools have different curriculums. There are certain subjects which are common to all schools, but schools will put different emphasis on different things. So our curriculum is a very academic curriculum, and I'm unashamed about that. I think it's important that our curriculum is very academic because that opens doors for our children. I never want to see a door closed on our children because of their qualifications. So it's important we have an academic curriculum. And it's a hugely empowering curriculum, because if those doors are kicked open, then that means our children can access the careers, the jobs, the choices that they want to take. And if they can do that, then they can get themselves into a nice secure position, and then they can use their power to help make the world a better place. Our strong focus then is on the facilitating subjects, and they're called facilitating subjects because if you're good in these subjects, you're good in loads of other subjects as well. So English, mathematics, science, humanities, languages. This is the core of what we teach at BDA, and this is what the government refers to as the English Baccalaureate, and is considered a high-level set of subjects to be doing. They're the ones rated most important by universities, by employers, and by the government, and with good reason. If you're good in these subjects, it kicks open doors for you, both in terms of careers, universities, and also in terms of other subjects that you want to study. In our school, you'll be aware that your child has been studying all of those subjects throughout their entire school career, which is how it should be. It gives you a broad and balanced curriculum and an academic base to move forward from. It gives you a great knowledge base for going into the world. But at GCSE, we have to make choices. And in a lot of schools, a lot of these subjects are simply removed from our children. Schools say that they're too difficult for our kids. We don't want them to do them. We'd rather they take easier options. For me, I can't really back that because I feel that limits our options for our children. If you take these subjects away, that means doors get closed because you don't have that academic set of subjects behind you. So the percentage of students who sit all of these subjects, and our languages subject is French in school, is in our school 72%. And that compares to 35% nationally, which is why I say we are objectively a school that delivers a very academic curriculum to our students. Our school curriculum is very inclusive. We don't just say to our children, do these subjects or those subjects, do whatever you want to do. We know our students well, and we guide them towards the pathways that give them the best chance of success. So all of our children in Year 9 are going to be part of that, part of an interview process. We're going to discuss where they are at in their on their academic levels and what are the right subjects for them so they get the best grades possible. We give guidance on this to make sure that everyone succeeds. And we have a pathway for everyone. Because of our broad and balanced curriculum, we can offer vocational, creative and academic pathways to our children, which you're going to hear about in a moment. We're also really proud about our NEC, our non-examined curriculum. We spend 5 hours a week in tutor time studying diverse topics. And really, these are the topics which I feel are really important, but don't get covered in normal school curricula. So we have studied Black Lives Matters. We study matters of social action. We study matters of personal well-being and how to keep ourselves safe and how to keep ourselves well. We study the news every day. So this is about how we learn beyond the curriculum, and it's a mapped out curriculum that is exclusive to BDA, and it helps empower our children by giving them the knowledge beyond the curriculum. My thoughts on our curriculum are that it's very academic, but most importantly, it works. It does what it's meant to do. It empowers our children to realise our school vision. And how do I know that? Well, I know that through the outcomes and destinations our children go on. So here's a little map of what our outcomes have been like over the last few years. We are the most improved school in Hammersmith and Fulham and the Arc region, which is something we're very, very proud of. We've had 2 years of 10% improvement in outcomes at GCSE, and that means that our GCSE students are going on to significantly improved life chances. I'm absolutely confident we are on course to having another improvement this year, and I'm sure when our Year 10s and our Year 9s follow through into Year 11, they'll be raising outcomes even higher. We have received our highest outcomes since 2014, which after 2 years of 10% improvement, it is not really a surprise. And I think one of the things that we're very proud of is that our Year 11 students, after achieving these great results, want to stay at our school. They want to stay into our sixth form because they know the most important thing in this world is having great teachers, and BDA gives you great teachers. Speaking of our sixth form, that again has also been improving. We've had the best results in our outcomes since 2016, but I think the thing I'm most proud of is that 40% plus of our students have secured a Russell Group University place. So just so that you're aware of this, I'm sure everyone is, but the Russell Group universities are the most competitive universities in the country, and 40% of our students have achieved places in those universities. That genuinely is changing their life chances. Okay, that's actually a better average than private schools have, and we're very proud of that. So in many ways at BDA, we are a comprehensive school and an inclusive comprehensive school that delivers a grammar school experience for our children. I say the Russell Group University places are important. I say university places are important, and there are other pathways. There are apprenticeships that you can go on and degree apprenticeships you can go on, which are really, really empowering. And some of our students have gone on to them to some of the most competitive firms in the world. But I'm just going to talk a moment about graduate salaries here. And I'm going to talk about salaries. We don't study just to earn money, but I know when I was in year 9, I wanted to know what the impact of my studies would be on my salary. I cared about that. And I've shared with you here some of the average salaries out there. Now, the national minimum wage gives you about £13,700, which is not much at all. The national living wage is ironically slightly higher than that. Which tells us how inadequate the national minimum wage is. The average UK salary is about £27,500. Okay, but that is the average salary across the UK. Okay, and within including graduates and non-graduates. If we just look at the average non-graduate salary, it's about £22,000. And if you compare that to the average graduate salary, that's about £35,500. Now, if you go up one notch and you say, what about graduates from the Russell Group University, which 40% of our students are going on to? Well, they're on about £41,000 a year as an average salary. Okay, so when we talk about pathways and when we talk about going to great universities, and that this is what we're about at BDA, so that you can go and make the world a better place. Remember, this has a very tangible impact in terms of the money that our children will be taking home, but when they go into the workplace, it makes an absolute, tangible, real difference. Salary isn't the be-all and end-all in life in the slightest, but it is important, and this is an indicator as to how much a Russell Group University place and a good university place empowers our children going forward. So I wanted to share that with you. And to put it into some sort of context about living in London, we did a little bit of a survey with some of our staff, and we tried to work out what the actual sort of living costs are in London. And these are vague figures, and I'm sure people will debate them there, but I think this is roughly around about accurate. If you look at your rent and bills, your phone, food and toiletries, travel, gym membership, Lord knows I need that right now, and your clothes and entertainment, if you look at what the cost is for that per month, then you're looking at about £1,785, and after tax, that means you would need a gross salary of about £27,000, £27,500. And if we look up there, that's the average London graduate starting salary. The average London graduate starting salary is about £27,000, and that compares to the average non-graduate starting salary, which is more than £10,000 lower than that. And if I tell you over the course of your working life, if you are a graduate, you're likely to earn something to the tune of £500,000 more than a non-graduate. So I've talked a lot about universities. I've talked about why we think it's important that our children aim for the best destinations. And Ms. Morris is going to talk in a moment about how our curriculum gets our children there. So our curriculum is academic, balanced, it's diverse, it's challenging, it's varied, it's empowering. But I want to go to one important word here, and it is this: it is inclusive. It is a curriculum that can cater to every child of every level of ability. So when I talk about Russell Group universities, the route to that is not only through doing A-levels in academic subjects. You can also do level 3 Btec qualifications at BDA, and we have sent kids to universities like Queen Mary's, like King's, with those qualifications, and their lives have been changed. So Ms. Morris will talk you now through the different pathways that you can take, and I know this feels like we're talking quite far ahead. You're in year 9 and we're talking about universities, but folks, I have to be realistic with you. That journey starts today, and this is the first step on it. So with that, I will hand over to Ms. Morris. Ms. Morris, I think you might be on mute.
Sorry about that. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Ms. Bhatia. Yes, I'm Ms. Morris, Vice Principal, and I oversee the curriculums and the outcomes at BDA. For this section of the evening, we're going to look at our curriculum in a bit more detail. I'm going to talk to you about why we design it the way we do, and how you will and your children be taken through the options process this year. And we're fully aware, obviously, it's a bit of a different approach this year in the way that we're doing it, but we will obviously have, as Mr. Bhatia said, the wonderful opportunity now to have face-to-face interviews with the young people that we know so well, and we'll make sure that they get on the right pathways for them. So without further ado, I'll just talk you through, first of all, our curriculum. So you'll see at the top there our core 6, which is our beginning of our facilitating subjects, maths, English, and English includes English language and English literature, so it's 2 GCSEs. Science, which is the double science, which is 2 GCSEs, and RE. Maths and English, I think it goes without saying, are obviously our gateways to sixth form, to college, to university, to careers. And unashamedly, if students don't get 4+ in those subjects at the end of year 11, then they will have to retake them up until the age of 18, and then access into college, into universities becomes very challenging if they don't get those grades. So we do give more time in our curriculum to English and maths for those very reasons, to ensure that they have opportunities to go on and progress further in their education, and that is the right thing to do. Science, everybody obviously does a double science. And again, I think this year has proven absolutely the value in our sciences. I mean, we've been seeing on the TV screens all the time about the value and the importance of science over the last year, and the vaccination rollouts. And without presenting this like Chris Whitty, we know that science is key to the progression of the human race. And it's an essential subject to learn for its value, for its subject value, as well as what it can offer our young people moving forward, and for careers as well. And if you've had the opportunity to have a look at some of the videos already, you'll notice there is a whole plethora of careers open to you for the sciences route. Along with all of the other subjects, they've shown you career prospects for all of the subjects when you make those decisions. So I would strongly advocate that you watch the videos from our heavily talented heads of department after tonight's session and over the coming weeks. So then we have RE. Obviously, we're a Church of England school, so RE is a subject we teach throughout our school, all the way from year 7 up until the end of year 11, and students have the opportunity to pursue philosophy and ethics at A level, should they wish to, should that be a subject of their interest. It has a massive intrinsic value on our students' lives in terms of understanding the world around them through different lenses, through different cultural understandings, and being able to navigate through a complex world where obviously different perspectives and views are really critical to understand and important. So RE, we really value it. We teach it as a core subject in our school, and all students continue with RE at Key Stage 4. So that's 6 subjects already. And then we have the choice in our option A with our humanities. And this is where students will need to make a decision, their first decision, as to whether they want to continue with geography or history. You'll notice in option D, history also reappears. So if we do have any young people who are really keen at the humanities route and want to do double humanities, then there is an opportunity to obviously do geography in option A and then choose history in option D. So they could, if they wanted to, continue those 2 facilitating EBAC subjects if they wish. So that is, again, an option that we have provided this year to try and be as inclusive and as broad and as balanced as we can be for the students. The value, obviously, of geography, understanding the climate, the planet. I mean, if you've been watching Perseverance landing on Mars, understanding the world around us, links with science, there's lots of crossover with our subjects as well. History fundamentally teaches us lessons from the past about how to live in the future. These are critical subject domain areas that we really value, and obviously nationally they're valued as well. So we would encourage our young people to pursue those 2 subjects, which obviously 100% of the students will do either one or the other, and some might do both. Again, watch the videos on our website around those. History is heavily more written based, so those of us very talented writers out there, and those of you who like debating and discussing and writing essays and arguing points and referring to sources and reading, might be more steered towards the history option. And the geographers, it's slightly sort of shorter length answers in exams. And there's much more sort of maths and science and graphs, etc. in the geography course. So you might be more leaning towards that, but that's obviously quite a simplistic comparison, and you should choose carefully by looking at the full content of those courses. And then we move into our EBAC section here with MFL, and you'll see there that we have French as our main language, and as Mr. Barty pointed out, we have 72% of our students in every year group, year on year, opting to do French for the very reasons that it is a highly valued subject. You know, in a global market, we're global citizens, having a second language is really critical and going to become increasingly so as employment becomes more competitive. Off the back of the pandemic, I think, you know, we should be all aspiring to do those subjects. You'll see that we have the Btec sitting alongside French. Now that is to ensure that we are inclusive. We do understand that not all students will want to continue with French into Key Stage 4, and we would advise students perhaps working below a grade 4 to consider exploring the Btec route. And as Mr. Barty has also mentioned, the Btec route is by no means an easier route. It is a route that will get you into Russell Group universities if you continue with your BTECs into college or into sixth form, and you will then continue your level 1 or 2 that goes into level 3 Btec routes that can get you access to some of the top universities in the country and pursue a more vocational career, but a career nonetheless that will have and result in similar equivalent qualifications to the A levels. So the music, sport and media that we offer, obviously you do need to have a bit of an aptitude and an interest in those subjects. And that is, you know, you again would need to research those and be very clear about your interests there. And in your interviews, we can discuss those with you and whether that would be the right choice for yourselves. And then we move into our option C, which is where you'll see triple science appearing. And for those of you aiming for sort of Oxbridge universities and wanting to go deeper into the science rather than getting the 2 GCSEs, you would get 3 GCSEs. You would opt for triple science, and I'll talk about the requirement there. Obviously, is you do need to have a grade 6 though at the end of year 9 to access that. But if you're aspiring for that route into medicine or the range of subjects, dentistry, etc., that you might pursue, that might well be the route for you. You'll see some new subjects appearing that you wouldn't have studied before in the likes of sociology and business. So that's sometimes often very appealing for students to do something a bit different, to make a choice, something a little bit different that they haven't studied before. Again, you don't have to study sociology and business at GCSE in order to study those subjects at A level. All of the facilitating subjects allow you to choose any other subjects at A level, so you don't have to narrow your choices early on at this point. It doesn't block any other further routes down the line. I will make that point, but obviously it might be a good option for those of you working around the middle grades to consider perhaps exploring sociology. Is heavily more debate, discussion subject. Business, those of you aspiring to run your own companies and managers out there, you might well look at that course and think that's the one for you. And again, we've got great routes there into either A-level business or into the professional pathways, BTEC level 3 equivalent at sixth form at BDA, and it's a very popular course. And then you'll see there you've got another option there for doing a second BTEC. So those of you perhaps who did pick sports in option B, you might want to do a second BTEC and do perhaps music BTEC in option C. That might be a good choice for you. They're equivalents to GCSEs, but they are obviously more vocational. And again, you will do more coursework for those subjects. You won't have, for those of you that perhaps a bit worried about all doing 100% exams at the end of the 2-year course, you might prefer to go down the route of doing a BTEC because it's proportionate all the way through the 2 years. You take incremental little tests and exams and coursework that you build on, and that's how you get your grade at the end, and they're presented at the end of the course as you're going through that course. So that might be a preferred route for you if you prefer not to have all the pressure at the end of the 2 years. And you'll notice there's also additional English and maths. Now we've emphasised the real importance in getting your qualifications in English and maths. And we do understand sometimes taking 9 or 10 GCSEs is not perhaps appropriate for some students, and they might want to therefore give their option C a miss and choose English and maths additional lessons so they can boost their grades in English and maths. And come out at the end of year 11 with a really secure 4, even a 5 or 6 or even higher. So it might well be a choice that some people, a discussion that we'll have with some young people, and at home you should have these discussions and be very frank and realistic about what it really is. We know English and maths is critical and important, and if you need the additional time, I mean, people might be thinking, obviously with the lockdown and everything, that is a very smart move because you want to ensure maximising those grades as well in the core subjects. And then we've got option D. And this is where you've got a real range now, so it's going to be a real choice in terms of decision making across those subjects. I've talked about the history there option. If you want to do double humanities, obviously you would pick geography in option A and history in option D. You might choose economics, another new subject. It's a challenging subject. It's a subject that requires 2 grade 5s to access from English and maths. Sociology appears again in that option, so you might want to do sociology and business, so you pick business in option C, sociology in D. You've got then the creative subjects here that we're offering, so art, drama, photography, and then we have PE as well. So the creative subjects, again, you'd want to have a bit of an aptitude and a real interest, a keen interest in those subjects. There's a lot of independent work required of you in art. For example, a lot of the hours and a lot of time goes into the artwork that you have to produce across the course. Again, drama, you wouldn't choose drama if you have a bit of an innate fear of performing, for example, so you need to think carefully about that as a choice. And if that's a real interest for you, you want to get into the world of acting and pursue a career down that route, then certainly have a good look and think about drama. Photography. Again, that was a new subject for a lot of young people, but a lot of students now have really nurtured and improved on their IT skills, particularly in the last year. There's a lot of graphic work there and design work that goes on in photography. So that's really an interesting subject choice for some of you that might be really keen on photography. And again, have a good listen to the heads of department who will explain their courses in much more minute detail to you on our website videos. And then PE there, you'll see that's GCSE PE, and that's obviously different to sports, BTEC. So GCSE PE is a bit more academic. It's assessed towards the end of the course, and you do have to have a real aptitude and interest in sports. And ideally for doing PE, you do need to really be participating in an outside team or outside sports. Now I know this year that's been particularly difficult for our young people, with a lot of that being closed. But if you're historically been part of a football club or an athletics club or a rowing club or anything like that, you would certainly be a real candidate for PE, doing GCSE PE. There's a lot of science in GCSE PE as well, in terms of exploring the body and things like that. So it's quite academic, whereas the sports is not so much heavily, the BTEC is not so heavily demanding on you being perhaps somebody who participates in outside sports, but you do still have to have the interest. Again, watch the videos and see the differences between the PE GCSE and the sport BTEC, and that might be an avenue for some of you to explore as well if you want to pursue a career in physiotherapy or in sports coaching, etc. There's some really good routes further down the line for that. And then just to summarise, really, everybody has 30 lessons in Key Stage 4 per week. And everybody also has a core period of PE, because obviously keeping fit is great for mental health, and we all have to make sure that we're getting back into good health and well-being, particularly more so than ever this year. And a side note there that heritage languages can also be assessed for additional GCSEs. So if you do speak Arabic, for example, at home, or Polish or any other language, a second language, Spanish, Italian, we can't offer it on the curriculum, unfortunately, but we can enter you for exams. So if you can read and write in those subjects, we can do mini assessments throughout the GCSE course just to test, to check that you're able to be entered, and we will enter you for those exams to give you an additional GCSE. And that's something that we can discuss with individuals in their interviews. So that's really, really exciting opportunity, but lots of our young people do choose and opt to do that as well. And our MFL team are great at working with the community and the families about that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit now about the process and the form. So if you've had a chance to see the school website, that you've got a copy of the options form. There's a copy of this in the options booklet. But there is also one printable page of this form that you can download and you can print. But don't worry, because when we interview every student, we will have copies of this option form with us and we will fill it in with the students. Now, I would advise you to fill it in first at home if you can. So if you can get a copy of this printed off, you should do that, and you should go through this at home so you can decision make with your parents. But equally, don't panic if you can't download or you can't print this off. We will be able to give you these now. You're returning the week of the 8th, and we can give you copies of this. And then obviously we will have copies in our interviews the week beginning 15th of March. So don't panic too much about the options form, but I will talk you through how to do that. Because I know some of you will be keen to work through that with your parents and fill it in and make your decisions. So firstly, you would do your name in where it says student, and your tutor group gets filled in. You'll see your 6 core subjects are already in black there in the top, the core subjects. Then for option A, you decide, am I going to do history? You've done all the thinking, you've read the booklet, you've seen the videos, you've made your decision, and this can be picked history, so you put a little cross in the history box, and then you go to your option B and you have a think about what you're going to choose. Are you going to do the Btec or the French? And the student's picked French, wants to do the facilitated subject, fantastic. And then we have our option C, which is that long list of subjects there, and you would need to pick a first choice and a second choice. So you would highlight it or circle it on the sheet and then write it down here. You'll see first choice, option C is sociology. You pick your second choice, and in this instance, we've picked the music Btec. And then you do the same for option D, and you'll have a look if the student wants to do economics. And then for my reserve choice here, I'm going to pick my business studies GCSE. So ideally, if I get my way and I get all my grades at the end of the year to access these, I'm going to be doing sociology and economics. Now, the reason we have reserve choices are for a couple of reasons. One is if ever any reason we have to cancel a course because not enough students have picked it, we always go to the second choice. It's very unlikely that will happen though. Mostly they will always run. And in the event that perhaps you miss the grade to do sociology, for example, we would look to offer the music. So that would be a discussion we would have with you, your parents in June or July when we do the end of year assessments. Okay, and I'll talk a bit about the grades now to access some of these particular subjects, because the subjects do vary in difficulty and demand. So option B subjects, French, you want to be working at the end of year 9, so maybe not right now, but by the end of year 9, you need to be a 4 or above to really be successful in French. Okay, now you would want to be working hard when you come back into school. You're working hard now, but work hard when you come back in. And we won't be assessing you, obviously, for a long time. It won't be till the summer term, but we will be putting on some end of year assessments to make sure that students, we know where the gaps are and we know how we can support as well. So you're looking to be getting a 4 or above. If you're working below that, you might, as I said before, want to consider the Btec route here. Again, aptitude and interest is the only entry requirement there for those Btecs. For option C, Triple science you will need by the end of year 9 to achieve a 6+ in science. Okay, a 6+ in science. So you need a 6 or above, that means. So you have to get at least a 6 in science to do the triple science course. Okay, so you'd want to, if you want to do, you need to make sure you're working really hard towards that by the end of year 9. Sociology, it's a 4 or above in English because it's heavily reliant on reading and writing skills. Business is a 4 or above in English and maths because it uses a combination of those areas. And then we've got the Btec, it's aptitude and interest in those subjects, and that will be demonstrable in your interview. You'll talk about that, demonstrate that aptitude and interest with the senior staff who interview you, or the year 9 team, the leadership team of year 9 will be conducting interviews as well. Option D, then we've got history. Obviously it's every access history or geography. Again, I would obviously, if you're picking those subjects, you do need to think about the amount of exams you're going to be doing. It will be a little bit more, and that should be a discussion you have with the interviewer and with your parents. Economics, a 5 in English or above in English and maths. It's a very challenging course, economics, so it requires a 5 or above in English and maths. Sociology, again, 4 or above in English. Business, there we are again, it appears in this block as well, 4 or above English and maths. And then we have art, drama and photography. Similar to the BTECs, we say you need to have an aptitude and an interest in the subject, and make sure that you can demonstrate that, why you want to do art, why you want to do drama. We need students who are committed to courses, doing the right courses. So we need to make sure that they're the right decisions and the right choices. And then finally, PE, and I've already mentioned this, that you do need to be participating in some kind of outside sports. And again, that should be discussed in your interview for PE. So there are some of the subject entry. It should hopefully provide you all with some aim and some ambition for when you return to school, that you want to get into these subjects. This is what you've got to do. It's best to be clear and upfront now. We wouldn't want to put students on the wrong courses, on the wrong path that they then struggle with and then have to drop out of. That would not be very responsible of us. Really important that we're really clear, really transparent, and you're ambitious for yourselves as well, and you can do the best that you want to do so you achieve your full potential moving forward. And then later on, as we move into our GCSE courses, we have 3 subjects only that have sort of tier entries. Lots of the tiering was scrapped ago, but math, science and French still have tiers. So what I mean by that is a higher tier entry or a foundation entry. Now, if you want to be entered into the higher tier, you need to really demonstrate by the end of year 10 that you are consistently able to get a 6 or above. So throughout end of year 10, throughout year 11, you're getting a 6 or above. So we're confident if we entered you for the higher tier, you're not going to drop off and come out with an ungraded paper. You're going to actually achieve that higher standard and get the grade there. Okay, again, it's to safeguard yourselves, make sure that the young people aren't set up to fail by being entered in for the wrong paper. So that's really important to be aware of, where there are tiering in the subjects, and we make those decisions in year 11. Okay, so there's a way to prove yourself throughout year 10 in those 3 subjects there. And the next steps then for all of you, what do you need to do now? Well, you need to research and choose your options. So you need to think about your first and your second choice. You're then going to submit your form at your interview. Now, I have said we will have copies of the forms available as well, and we will give you hard copies of these when you return into school. If you're able to print them off and download them and have them at home already before you come back, then fantastic. And if you really already know, obviously that's really great, you know your own mind, but be ready. The week beginning the 15th all the way through until the 26th of March, we will be staggering interviews. It's one-to-one interviews with the senior team and the year 9 leadership team, who know you best, know you very well, and can give you the best advice, and you will be able to talk individually with the teachers about your choices, and we will guide you. And if anybody's really unsure and stuck, we will really help you. We'll look at your grades, we'll look at your data, we'll look at what you've achieved in school up until now, and we will guide you on that pathway. You need to study hard for your summer examinations. We will have summer examinations, and we are hoping, obviously, have a good run up now of uninterrupted learning and teaching in order to get you the best outcomes possible in the summer, to give you great foundations going into year 10. Get the highest grades you can at the end of the year in June. We'll review your grades and your option choices. We keep all of that, and students receive then your exam results in July, and then the options are allocated to you, okay, based on what you've chosen and whether you've got those grades to do it, okay. So final advice then from me is to make your choices for the right reasons. So what should you do? Well, you read the booklet and you'll see there's an lovely online booklet. Miss Williamson will probably show you around the website at the end just to show you where all these things are if you haven't had a chance to look. Watch the subject videos on the school website. Talk it over at home. Seek advice from teachers who can help you. Choose a subject which you think will be useful later in life, whether for work or for leisure interests. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a job ticket. It's about also just expanding your understanding of everything around you. Attend your pathways interview. Now you'll be given a time and you must attend that interview. You'll be in school, but you do need to remember your time, and you will need to have your interview where you are told to go. Choose a balanced set of courses and find out about them. So keep your options nice and broad if you can. Think carefully about the amount of coursework, independent work that you'll have to do for all your subjects. What should you not do? Don't choose a subject simply because you like the teacher, and I know some of you will. Choose the subject, not the teacher. Now I say that because you don't know if the teacher will be there in September. You don't know, you know, what that could change. You also don't know, obviously, you know, which teacher you're allocated next year. So please make sure you think carefully about the subject. Your favourite teacher teaches it. Choose a subject because other people don't choose a subject because other people tell you it's only for boys or only for girls. Okay, we don't want any stereotyping. Anyone can do any subject. Okay, so please don't be put off by any sort of gender stereotypes, and do not choose a subject just because a friend is choosing it, because you can't bear to be without your friend and you need to go into all the same subjects. Please don't do that because it might not be the right choice for you. Okay, so just a few tips there to think it through further at home and discuss. And hopefully you'll have seen then through our really balanced and fair and rich curriculum that we've got for you. There is a lot of choice. It is designed to empower everybody. It's designed to be inclusive, really importantly, and hopefully you can see that. It's designed to stretch you to your fullest potential, to give you that ambition to get the best grades you can, and eventually the content of your learning, your subjects, will help you become the leaders of the future and make the world a better place. So be brave in your decision making, be kind to yourselves, keep learning, guys, all the way through now, and aim really high. Really important that you're ambitious for yourselves, because we're ambitious for you, and as we've seen with that data in the outcome, year 9 to be smashing, you know, well over 80% in their GCSEs in 2 years' time. So thank you very much for coming this evening. You'll see that there is a lot of information on our website. I'm going to hand back now to Miss Williamson for any of our Q&A.
Great, thank you very much, Miss Morris. So I'm just going to briefly take you through the website. I know a lot of you will have visited already, but just so you're aware of how to access much more information about the options process, but also the content of the different options. So you just need to go to our homepage, which is burlingtondanes.org. From there, you will see the banner, which is on the screen currently. You just need to click onto that, and that will take you to a specific page all about options. So from that page, there are a few different things that you can do. You can download a copy of the options booklet. If you prefer not to download it, you just want to look at one subject in particular, then there's also an online version of that booklet, which you can leaf through on the website. There's lots of information in there written by the heads of department about what the content is, how you will be assessed, Is it exams? What's the coursework like, if there is any? And then talking about what the subject will lead to in future. As Miss Morris said, there's also the possibility of downloading a copy of the options form if you would like to look through it or print it before the interview. But do remember, everybody will be going through that in their interview, so it's not a problem if you're not able to download and print at home. There will also from tomorrow be a recording of this event available on this webpage in case there's any parts that you want to look over again. We're aware that this is a lot of information, so we'll be providing the recording there. And finally, if you scroll down, then there are videos from our heads of department about every single option which is available. These are between 3 and 8 minutes long and give an overview of what the content is, what it is like to study this subject, how you are assessed, what careers it can lead to, and what future study can be led to from it. Okay, so I'll put a link to that into the Q&A as well, but it's really worth just spending a little bit of time going over that webpage if you haven't done so already. Okay, we're going to move on to the Q&A section now. Thank you so much to everybody who's been putting questions into the chat already. In some cases, there have been a few similar questions asked, in which case I will just ask either Mr. Bhatia or Miss Morris to speak on the topic that those questions were asked about, rather than specifically the similar questions. So first up, I'll just be asking Mr. Bhatia, please, to be speaking about the number of options that students are doing and that are available to students.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Morris. And Ms. Williamson for that question there. Yeah, so the number of subjects are available at GCSE. We'll be studying 10 GCSEs. We've made a choice about it, so we'll be doing 10 GCSEs unless, for option C, a child decides to take additional English or maths because they really want to secure that English or maths qualification. That'll be a minority of students, but if necessary, they can take that. In that case, they will do 9 GCSEs, but for all of our other students, they will be doing 10 GCSEs. There's a reason why we've chosen to go with 10 GCSEs. In some cases, in some schools, and us included, historically, we've done maybe up to 11 GCSEs in the past. But it's really important to remember that our students have missed a huge amount of learning because of these lockdowns. And while we've done some great stuff at home, and I'm really proud of the work the BDA has done at home with our children, it's just not the same as being in the classroom. And for your university choices, for your job choices, your career choices, and for your A-level choices, people aren't sitting there counting to see how many GCSEs you've got. They're looking to see how many GCSEs you've got with good grades on them. So how many 5 pluses have you got? How many 6 pluses? How many 7 pluses have you got? Have you got any 9s? So it's more important to have higher grades than to have lots and lots and lots of GCSEs. And given the year that we've just had, where we've lost so much of our learning time, yeah, I think it's entirely appropriate that we focus on 10 GCSEs, which are really strong, really academic, and that are going to kick open the doors for us. You'll note that Ms. Morris mentioned earlier, we've got 30 periods a week devoted to our to our Key Stage 4 and Key Stage 5 lessons. So Year 9, I'm sure you've been enjoying finishing school around 3 o'clock. And having your 5-period day, that is about to vanish. So we're going to go from a 5-period day for you to a 6-period day. So you'll be studying till 4 o'clock every day. So it's a 6-period day. So we've increased the amount of curriculum time, and this is part of us trying to catch up the time that has been lost due to these lockdowns, to make sure that our kids get the best grades possible. So it's 10 subjects spread across 30 periods in the week. And for some students, they may choose to go to 9 subjects to focus especially on English and maths.
Lovely, thank you very much, Mr. Bhatia. I'm just going to ask Miss Morris now. There have been a few questions, Miss Morris, about how triple science works. Would you just be able to speak a little bit, because it's quite confusing having the double and the triple?
Yeah, for sure. Yes, certainly. So you'll notice that everybody does at least the double science. So that's part of the core offer. Now, not all students will do triple science. We know that. So it has to be given additional time in our curriculum and in our timetable. And the way we fit it in is by having it within our 30 periods. We have to offer additional lessons because triple science is 3 GCSEs and double science is only 2. So it requires more time from the specification to deliver the depth of the course in triple. So we have to have time from somewhere on our curriculum and in our timetable. And so it falls into that option C category. So it becomes then a choice for those students who want to do that additional GCSE in science and get a 3rd GCSE. We don't want them overwhelmed doing 11 GCSEs or anything like that and having a double option. So it's very sensible, and it gives us and allows us to have an additional periods that we put in that block for them to fully study that course in detail. So that's the sort of reasoning and rationale behind why it's in that block. And also do watch the videos because Miss Achampong, who talks very, very articulately about those 2 courses, will really go into a bit more detail about the content of those 2 different courses. And there are longer exam papers, for example, on the triple science compared to the double, and that will give you a bit more information if you're particularly interested in the triple route.
Great, thank you so much, Ms. Morris. And just while we have you on, there have been a couple of questions just about the process and how we submit things, etc. So my understanding is that it's going to be always through the interview that happens. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Yes. So the interview is a pretty critical point where we will face-to-face talk with your child or with the student, and we will go through that option form with them. Now, obviously, if you've prepared that already and you're very clear about what your child is going to do, you might want a conversation with their tutor or with somebody prior to that if there's any concern. We also have a parents' evening scheduled in for April 22nd for Year 9. So there is a further opportunity if there are any issues around option choices and things for you to finalise anything on that parents' evening. So we go right the way up, although the interview is really critical where we gather the first round of information and all the option forms. We still have that parents' evening in April where we can make any changes or tweaks to things if there's any concerns about anything. So please don't worry. We're not going to rush it through. The whole point is that this process is done thoughtfully and carefully and in a considered manner to make sure that your child and you are all happy with the path that the students will go on moving forward.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ms. Morris. I'm going to hand over now to Mr. Bhatia just to ask about, will there be summer school, which obviously has been in the news quite a lot today specifically.
Yeah, I'm really keen to have summer schools, and obviously we've got a great school site that looks fantastic in the summer as well. Look, that's been a very recent announcement from the government. We're looking into the logistics about how we're going to run that, but it would be our intention to run summer schools for our students this year. So we will update you as soon as we've got some concrete plans in place for that. As I'm sorry, I can't share more than that other than my intention to have summer schools at this moment. It's very, very fresh off the press on the news of summer schools. So we'll let you know in due course.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Bhatia. I'll just hand back now to Ms. Morris, if I may. There have been a few more questions just about logistics of sort of going through the options process. So a couple of people have asked, is it possible to select options from outside the blocks and to sort of mix and match across different options?
Yeah, no, well, the blocking is obviously the blocking is there obviously for a reason. It makes sure that we can run our curriculum, our timetable in the way it's set out. So we do need to be choosing within the blocks, but we do also there will be combinations that you can make when you look at that about how to get your child on the right pathways for you. So it's designed in order to give as much choice as possible, and so the blocks are there to be. We have to really keep to those in order to be able to offer a fair, balanced, holistic curriculum for all students. So please stick within those blockings. But if there are any nuanced issues that need to be discussed with the tutor or the head of year, or even myself, I'm more than happy for you to email me directly or have a phone conversation around that. So please feel free to do so, so we can talk in separately about any individual issues. But please follow the option blocking really carefully. It's designed to be inclusive for as many students as we've got in the school as possible. So it's there to be fair, and hopefully you'll see and notice that it's laid out in the way that it is, in order to ensure we're keeping it balanced and fair and rational for all young people in Year 9.
Can I come in on that as well, Ms. Morris? So again, there are schools which will just say choose whichever options you want. The reason why we've done this in these particular bands, and when you go into sixth form, when you're picking your A-level options, we'll give you again very firm guidance about what's going to work in terms of combinations, is because we've looked at the option combinations that work best and that empower our children the most, and we're good at this. Sometimes students will want to do quite a disparate range of options, and they won't really make sense. They won't really be the most academically empowering for our children. The way that we have set up our blocking ensures that everyone gets a really good balanced set of subjects, and there is a lot of thinking that's gone behind it. I'll just add my name to the mix. We will be on the Year 9 playground, and we'll be talking to you at lunchtime. These are going to be ongoing conversations that are coming up here, and I can see someone's put in one of the questions about, can I do a combination with music and with triple science and all of those things. And there are certain permutations that you can see where you could do that, but there are times when we may look at a combination that students wanting to do, and we may say, look, we advise against that. There is a reason why that's not available, and this is the reason why. So the combinations that we can do have been well thought out, because they really kick open the doors for your A levels and for your level 3 qualifications. That's why those combinations work there for you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Bhatia. If I just hand back now to Miss Morris, just a couple more questions about the process now. Is it going to be first come, first served when it comes to students being allotted their options?
No, is the direct answer. No, it's not. It's all about the grades at the end of the day, and whether you've accessed the courses. It comes to that. For example, if 60 students pick sociology, we will offer 2 classes, for example, and let's say 9 people want to do business, we'll have to offer 3 classes. So we design the curriculum, we design the number of classes and groups to fit what you pick, really, to an effect within our blocking. As long as you stick within the blocking, that's the only caveat. We design it around that. So if we have to put additional class on for this and additional class on here, we look to do that. So it's not first come, first served. It's not a case of we're going to cap it here and that they can't do that. We look at where the sensible moves are. Yes, you have first and second choices, and then we look at the grades, whether you've accessed it via the grades at the end of the year, and they're the main requirements to enter some of these particular subjects.
Great, thank you, Miss Morris. I'm just going to hand back now actually to Mr. Bhatia, and it's something that we've spoken about during the presentations, but which is obviously really important to parents and students. How specifically, in a post-COVID world, well, not a post-COVID world, but hopefully returning to some more normality in school, how are we ensuring that children are being supported in their pathways? So
this is through the first way we ensure that you're supported through your pathways is by setting up the option blocks as we have. Okay, so that means there's a certain baseline where you're not going to be able to choose a selection of subjects which does not allow you to access the next level, right? There's that set of combinations of subjects there will 100% get you to where you need to get to. But this is the whole process, the whole thing that we are going to be doing now as a school community is talking about those GCSE options with our Year 9. So when you're back in school, this will be the dialogue. all the time. You'll be having this dialogue with your class teachers. You'll be having it with everyone you see in the playground. You'll be having it with me when you see me in the playground. I'll be doing a few assemblies for you on this. So this is a dialogue to be had right now. And remember, it's not set in stone. I know some people are wondering, will it be based around the assessments? And yes, we will have a set of assessments in the summer, and those assessments will help determine which are the right subject choices for each student. So there will be a consideration of where you are at in terms of your progress academically based around those assessments, and there will be a dialogue with each child. They're going to have a really in-depth conversation with someone who's going to offer guidance on these subject choices about what is best for them. So there is no, I would say, while we've got a mechanism by which, you know, it guides us through our choices, it's not a mechanistic approach. It's a human approach. There's lots and lots of talking. There's, you know, I expect every one of my Year 9 students to change their minds on their options about a dozen times. Okay, because we're going to have so many conversations around it. We're going to be talking about so many different career pathways, and then that final choice doesn't get made until you sat in that room with your advisor from the Year 9 team, who guides you towards the right pathways that are right for you. So there'll be a full conversation about what careers you're thinking about, what university subjects you're thinking about, and they will make sure you're getting the right package for your individual needs. And then you study really, really hard and make sure you get all the entry requirements to get onto those courses. And then Miss Morris will look very, very stressed, but she'll find a way of timetabling that to make sure we all get what we want with that. Fingers crossed.
Thank you, Mr. Barcher. I'm not going to cross my fingers for Miss Morris looking stressed. I know she will do a fantastic job of the timetabling. I'm just going to hand back to you, actually, please, Miss Morris. Some students and parents have asked about technology within the Q&A. So would you just be able to explain about how sort of the art pathway enables students to study technology?
Yeah, so in terms of moving on, if you wanted to do art or photography, for example, they're design technology subjects. They fit under that umbrella. So they're the creative subjects. So if you were, I mean, if you pick to do art, you might go on to do fine art or something further on and do an additional qualification down the line. Photography is also a design technology subject. That there's a lot of crossover skills with what you would do in design technology and with photography. There's also a lot of crossover with the media Btec as well. If you actually look at the courses, you'll see that there's a real transfer between those. So all of what you do at Key Stage 4 is not going to stop you from going on to continue, maybe even specialising in something underneath that technology bracket at Key Stage 5. So when you want to narrow down your choice at Key Stage 5, and you've done, for example, art or photography, and that GCSE and your list of subjects that you've gained a great qualification in, you've got a 7 in GCSE art. That's great foundation for you to go to your interviews for sixth form and say, or to college, to go on to do a technology qualification, level 3 or an A-level equivalent qualification there. So it will still provide you with that foundation into that route and into that world and that career. So yes, please, yeah, all of the subjects we've got are there to help you to get to the next step, and that's really important to know. It doesn't have to be exactly the same name subject that you do at GCSE that you do at Key Stage 5. You know, they keep it quite broad if you can, and you really specialise. You know, lots of countries don't specialise until they're 22, and we start specialising at at 18 and 16, and so just bear that in mind. That you are not going to block yourself out of any option in the technology field, just if you don't do design technology, for example, next year.
Can I just come back to that one as well? If you're interested in things like computer science, if you want to go to university and study an IT related course, there are more than one pathways into IT related courses at university. There are some who may take a BTEC level 3 option on our professional pathways in IT in sixth form. That doesn't need it. That's got no prerequisite that you have to have done that at GCSE. So you'll be able to access that course course if you've got an interest in IT and studying that at A level. There won't be a requirement to have a prerequisite for GCSE for that. If you're looking for going into a specific programming route at university around computer science, the prerequisite for that is going to be around maths and potentially further maths at A level and potentially physics. But maths and further maths are the real thing that they will look for. There's no prerequisite around that to have done computer science as a GCSE or as an A level, but maths and further maths are critical, because when you study computer science at university, it's basically a lot of mathematics there with that. But there are lots of different career paths in IT. So depending on which way you want to go down, if it's more design related, then art related subjects are going to be fine for accessing it. If it's more maths related that you want to go into in programming, then maths is the route to take. But come talk to us on an individual basis, catch me in the playground, and I'll be happy to answer your queries around that.
Great, thank you, Mr. Bhatia. And if I just hand over to Miss Morris, if a student picks a subject and then realises come September that it was the wrong choice, how do we proceed from that?
Hold my head in my hands. No, of course we have a period of grace, of course. So we'll be back in September, and obviously they'll be on their courses because they've got the grades, they're doing those courses, and then they go, oh, this isn't quite for me. We allow you the first half term to see how it's all gone. We don't advocate for too much change. If you've done 6 weeks of studying, you have to really be sure, and you have to have a meeting with me to explain that, and we'll look into the case. But yes, of course, if it's the wrong decision and you absolutely do not want to continue in a subject, you will then have to probably go and demonstrate that you've caught up with the subject you do want to, and present me with all the work that you've caught up on with that, and then you will go into that other subject, but on that grounds only, because we wouldn't want you missing out on those work. So I'll make you do the work for the other one, but you will have a chance to switch if only up until that first half term though, because otherwise it's too far down the line and we're doing exams and assessments and things like that.
And I would. So as Morris, I'd add to that, given the time that's been lost, I would really advise choosing wisely right now. We've got a lot of time to think about it and choose the right subjects for us, and I would really discourage any flitting between subjects when we come back. It just reduces your chances of getting the best grade that you can that you can get. Also, sometimes in the first few weeks of a course, it doesn't quite make sense for you, because it is going to be a new subject for you, and you need to spend a bit more time with it, getting to know it. So if it's something you're passionate about, it's something you care about, we choose it as an option and really push on through, because you will do well on it. You will do well at that course if you choose it for those reasons.
Great, thank you, Mr. Bhatia. Just so everybody's aware, I'm closing the Q&A now. We have a few more questions to go through, but I'm conscious we've gone beyond the advertised time. We will explain at the end how you can ask any further questions. So just to answer the ones that have been asked currently, if I head back to Miss Morris, please. A couple of questions about what subjects we will study that we've not chosen for GCSE. So for example, if somebody hasn't chosen art as a GCSE, do you continue to study it, or will that be taken off your timetable come September?
Yes, so if you've not picked to do art, you won't be doing art. If you want to carry on doing it independently for a hobby, you're more than welcome. But yeah, no, you'll only be doing the subjects that you've chosen. So yes, you won't be doing it's the subject you don't pick. So if you don't pick art, you won't be doing art next year. Okay, if you don't pick music, you won't be doing music next year. Okay, so you will do the subjects you pick.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. And that ties in actually to another question that's been asked, because there are obviously some core subjects that everybody does. One of those is core PE, so that is the only non-examined subject that you'll be doing. But it'd be really helpful, I think, Miss Morris, if you could just recap what those subjects are that everybody will be studying.
So everybody will be studying maths, English language, English literature, science, RE, and you will all be doing more detail now, either geography or history, and a PE, which will be core PE. Okay, core PE. You have a period of core PE, and that's what you'll do. Okay, everybody will be doing those subjects.
Great, thank you. And I think the last question for now, before, as I said, we'll let you know how you can ask any other questions. Just to reiterate, how do we go about this process with the options? Do we need to send it to the head of year or to form tutors, or is there one way of doing it?
Yeah, you just need your interview. So you just wait until you've got your interview time, and you will then have your option form with you on the day, or you come to turn up for your interview and we will do the form with you. Okay, so it's the interview date that you'll have between now and Easter, basically, is going to be the critical time for you to talk it through and then the form. Okay, so the interview is the time in which that will be handed over. You don't need to bring bits and pieces in now. Sit on it until you get your interview time. You'll get a little letter saying when your interview time is. You can take it home, show your parents, go over it all again, be ready the day before, so you know that you're coming in prepared. And then we will get the form from you if you've got it already that day, or we will go through and write it and help you do it with you. Okay.
The one thing I would add to that is that if you do have your form with you and you filled it in and you haven't, and it's not time for your interview yet, if you are carrying it on your person and you catch me in the playground, you catch Miss Morris in the playground, you want to have a chat about it, we'd love to have a chat about it. Okay, really, just, it's just no need to rush to getting to those answers just yet. It's about having those conversations about it. There's lots of time to think about it and discuss what the right choice is for each one of us.
Great, thank you, Mr. Bhatia. So that brings us to a close for the evening. As I've said, there are plenty of opportunities to get further information or ask more questions from tomorrow. This video will be up on the website, and there will also be a box there where you can answer any questions, and a link to the school email address, and the office will pass on your question to the most relevant person. So I don't know, Mr. Bhatia, if you just had any closing comments for this evening.
Just to say, don't be nervous about this. This is a really supportive process that we're going through. These are big decisions, okay? These are big decisions, but we're going to make sure that we're not going to close any doors on us. We're going to keep all of our options nice and open, and we're going to work together to choose the best set of options. So right now you may have a lot of questions around it, but rest assured we are here as a school community to support you with making those choices and making sure that you pick out those options that are going to get you absolutely fantastic GCSE results and a smashing set of level 3 qualifications, be that professional pathways or A-level, and then onto those great Russell Group universities to make the world a better place for everyone. Okay, and just to say that we're all really looking, and I'm speaking for Ms. Morris and Ms. Williamson as well, we are really looking forward to welcoming you back in school. We've been missing you, so stay safe, stay well until then. Keep going with your online lessons, keep learning, and we'll see you in person very, very soon indeed.
Great, thank you so much everybody for attending this evening. I hope you have a lovely evening, and as Mr. Bhatia said, we're really looking forward to seeing students back in school soon. Bye-bye.